Welcome to Group Dates and Hot Takes, a Bachelor Nation podcast. I'm Sampy, a Bachelor newbie.
And I'm Christy, a veteran. Join us as we take on season 25 of The Bachelor together.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 now.
I really liked this episode. I don't know how you felt about it, but it had a good amount of drama and a little bit of romance, but mostly drama.
Yeah, I was just sort of along for the ride again. Some of the stuff sort of was interesting to see all of the drama.
Yeah, I don't know. The drama is, I think, what keeps people coming back from what I've seen over the years.
Well, there was a lot of drama in this episode for sure.
Yeah, it started off. I like these sinister cold openings they're doing. This is the first season I think they've done this where they show like a little clip of something dramatic happening later on. And this time we started with, I think it was Sarah actually who passed out or almost passed out at the rose ceremony.
Yeah, because they also, right, the first episode, even they were doing teasers for stuff that, like, so I always just assume from the television that I've watched that anything that is teased is going to be like fairly imminent. But even in the first episode, they were teasing stuff that did not even happen at all in the second episode.
Oh yes, when they do those season teases, I guess. They show sometimes all the way to the final episode. You'll see like a shot of like Matt standing at the proposal site with a ring.
Wow.
So there, yeah.
Huh. Well, I guess that makes a certain amount of sense since they have already, I mean, all of this has already happened, right? Like the entire season has happened.
Yeah, they finished filming in November.
Wow. That must be interesting to try to keep all of that under wraps.
Yeah, there are a lot of internet sleuthers who try and figure out who won and based on social media and all that.
Yeah.
And there have been some slip-ups in the past on social media that have spoiled it.
Oh, I'm sure. So the episode did start out innocently enough, right?
Well, we had the typical shower shot. That's they do this almost every season, I would say.
Just to get people excited.
I don't know, I suppose. Then we moved on to Brie with her one-on-one date.
Yeah, that's I guess, I don't know how much control he has over things, but that was kind of an interesting choice of dates for sure, to just go out on the ATVs.
Yeah, I think producers plan most of that stuff. Also, since they're at one location, their options are limited.
Yeah, I wonder
too. More so than normal.
Do you think like is any of that like sponsor related as well?
Well, probably just being at the Nemacolin Resort is, but usually like on other seasons when they travel, you will see like hotel names or names of places they go to, which I'm sure they're getting a kickback for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was curious about that because I don't know. It's not like I know ATVs well enough to be like, oh, that was a Honda ATV or whatever.
I didn't even notice. I don't know. I thought that was pretty funny how they fell over.
Yeah, I mean that could have gone not super great.
Yeah, I thought it looked like it had fallen on them, but then the camera cut and they were just on the ground.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice because always in my experience, you know, being more of a rural farm sort of person, uh, it's always been the case that, if you're on an ATV, chances are you're going to be getting dirty. And they did not seem particularly prepared for that eventuality. And then of course they had to be all extra, and he had to try to impress her, and then they flipped the thing, which of course, that I mean, you saw how muddy they got, but
Yeah. And then, of course, if you're muddy, you have to go clean up in a hot tub. Just
yeah.
out of nowhere in the middle of the forest. Oh, but I don't remember if this happened before or after, but did you notice Matt had his own Captain America moment?
Yeah, so
Splitting
that
the
yeah, so,
firewood.
yeah, so that was, I guess, that was right before they got in the hot tub, because it was a wood fired hot
Oh,
tub.
that's true. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I have to say, like, her staring at him was like the most, like, I don't know how to describe this, but it was just like the most sexual way I've seen somebody stare at another person. It was creepy. Like, she's like, oh, and it lingered. It was, uh,
Yeah, well, she liked what she saw, I suppose.
yeah. I mean, he is a pretty fit person, uh, and I'm sure that's very much a bachelor thing, right? They like to have very physically attractive people, um, both the guys and the
Generally.
ladies, but
Yeah, it
so,
was one of those very blatant
oh
slow
yes, it
motion
was
type shots.
it was very obvious for sure. And then of course they had to clean themselves off and start the makeouts.
Hmm. I did write this line down that Matt said, "Got some mud in my mouth." I don't know if you caught that.
No, no, I did not.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit gross.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess I understand the whole, like, oh yeah, I want you to kiss me, but like, that's kind of a weird way to put that out there.
Yeah, I think it was actually after, which to me made it worse.
Okay, huh? Yeah, because they did make out a couple. I mean, I consider it to be twice, because like it was two very separate moments there, but
Yeah, two separate but together.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm qualified to be the kiss meter here, but that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think two is fine for that one.
Okay, okay.
Back at the house, Victoria is beginning her downward spiral for the episode. I did not write down what she said, but I'm sure she was complaining about something.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of uh, jealous sorts of feelings there, um, which is, I mean, it's understandable with a limited amount of time, but it is kind of,
Like it's the first date. Like there'll be plenty of time.
yeah. I mean, I think you would probably agree, right, that she's very extra.
Yes. I really want to know what the producers are saying to her behind the scenes. I want to know how much of this is egged on by them or just her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's some of both, but it does seem like that is her personality, at least to some extent, just with how entitled she seems to be. Um,
Yeah. It's hard to teach entitlement.
yeah, I guess. I guess. Yeah, I mean, and uh, yeah, she just loves stirring the pot and getting that drama. It is interesting. I don't know, from like from my perspective, and maybe this is just me not being very in tune with this world, but it just seems like that isn't a very successful strategy. And I guess it maybe depends on what your goals are, but if you want to like if you at least want to like last long enough to like get a bunch of followers even, I don't know, it just seems like it's not a great play because yeah, it's good drama and maybe I guess you'd get some followers potentially and you at least like right, you get airtime, which is a positive. But beyond that, I just don't see how that would really work well for somebody. You saw in the episode, right? Like people, like all the people, like rolling their eyes at her,
Yeah.
and just being like, "Well, I wasn't part of it. Like I didn't see this happening. Like and just totally being over her already, even though right, it's been like a week for them in real
Not
time,
even a week.
or not even a week. Yeah,
No. This is like probably day 3, day 4.
really,
Yeah, because we just had the first night, and then usually there's like a day off, and then they start, which would have been Bree's first date. So we were
huh?
like 3 or 4 days in, and she's already rubbing everybody the wrong way. I mean, in previous seasons, this being the villain strategy has worked for some, but in order for it to work, you have to be likable enough to the lead,
Yeah.
but not too crazy that you get eliminated like the second week. So I don't know how long she'll last.
Yeah, it seems like it would be very tricky to pull off. And I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I guess like maybe maybe not any worse of a strategy than just trying to exist and like maybe you just don't stand out enough to get enough dates and you would get eliminated. Like I don't know what the odds would be on that sort of thing, but it seems like unless you were super careful, like eventually the lead would just realize like wow, you're just basically a jerk and just like lying about
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, it's usually like 4 or 5 episodes in that usually happens.
Yeah.
So,
So what did you think about the whole bridal day? Like the whole that whole group date?
well, to start off with, it was too many people. Yeah, I had a hard time keeping track of everyone. The rules for the game were confusing. Or actually, I guess before the game, they had the actual photo shoot, which was just awkward having to take photos in front of um, the other girls, which they've done this kind of group date quite a few times before, where it's like some sort of photo shoot. It's not always a wedding dress, but everybody's standing there watching while one or two girls poses with the bachelor.
Huh. And like so what would be a more normal amount of people for like more of a initial group date like this because obviously right the numbers would theoretically shrink as time went on
Yeah,
but
I would
for an initial thing like this.
probably 10, 11 or so. Because, like,
Okay.
normally if you start off with like 28, 25 girls or whatever, you'll be down to like 20 or so the first night, and then you take like half of them the next episode on a group date.
Yeah, because he started with 32.
Yes, which is more than normal.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, so to have 18 on this one was just a lot.
Does Chris Harrison insert himself like that a lot? Because I did find that kind of interesting how how that did how that did happen and how how they all didn't get to like go through and get their pictures and everything.
Yes, that's planned. Just completely planned, I think. Because it creates jealousy, like, oh, I didn't get to take my photo. Um, but I don't know why I don't know why there was if there was like a point they just decided to cut it off. It's like okay, we did half of them, but that he's usually part of group dates, especially on these quarantine bubble seasons, because
Hmm.
you can't really bring in
So
a whole lot of
normally
other
they would maybe
people.
bring in like past contestants or something to like, or like celebrity. Okay,
Or a
interesting.
celebrity.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just look. I just know, I would have been bummed if I had been one of those gals who didn't get her pictures taken, and because most of them, right, ended up kissing him too. So you miss out getting the
Yeah.
pictures, you miss out getting the makeout sesh. Like, I don't know, I would have been pretty angry too.
Yeah, I think I would have been fine with being the ones who didn't get to do it.
Yes, but you also would never go on The Bachelor. I mean, obviously,
Well, that's true.
obviously, I would feel the same way. But if I was to be the type of person who wanted to do that and was actually on the show, I would be quite disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the game happened and I could not follow what was going on. Did you?
So as I understood it, it was basically just capture the flag, but it was capture the hearts because it was Bachelor version, obviously. And so my impression was that there weren't any rules from what Chris Harrison said. And so basically they were just flinging paint at each other and hitting each other with purses and stuff, trying to get to the opposing team's heart. And so you have to get the opposing team's heart in your possession and then back to your, you know, arbor or whatever it was.
And if you got hit with paint, did that set you back, okay, to go back to the
I
beginning?
don't think so.
Okay. I was just confused by that whole part.
No, I think it was literally just intended to be absolute chaos, and it was. And so that's why, like, close to the end there, like a bunch of people were like wrestling over that one heart and trying to gain possession of it and whatnot. Yeah, that was kind of interesting.
Oh, one thing I noticed was when they walked up and they were all wearing umbrellas, Chelsea was wearing like a fairly heavy coat. So I know they must have been freezing in those wedding dresses like that whole day.
Yeah, or at least at the beginning. I mean, once you start like hitting people with purses, it kind of warms you up a little bit.
Yeah.
I I just speaking of the pictures, one of the women was just like gushing, and she's like, "Oh, this is so beautiful," and you just very sarcastically, "This is so weird." Right after.
Yeah. I don't know. My perspective is just a little different, I suppose. It's just so hard to relate to being in that environment for me.
Yeah, I mean it is understandable, and that is sort of a weird way to go about things too, right? Because you normally think of uh, like that whole choosing a wedding dress process as being like pretty intimate and like find something that really speaks to me and so on and so forth. But in this case, it was just like free for all, quick get one so that we can get these pictures. So it is understandable, but of course it's TV, so it makes things interesting. Yeah, I also just I laughed pretty hard when they were going into the game, and again, I do not remember who said this, but she's just like, so seriously, I would kill a bitch for Matt.
Oh, so high stakes.
Which I guess we're lucky. I guess we're lucky it didn't devolve into more violence beyond the hitting people with
Oh,
purses.
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, purses are soft enough.
because that's, I mean, it's still would hurt, but I mean that's what, like, I was asking you last night, like, have any contestants been like murdered on the show? Just because emotions do run so high and people do get so jealous, uh, and you do get I imagine you do get some cliques forming between people, like say people who like really can't stand Victoria, for example. I don't know. I guess I am a little surprised that there hasn't been, uh, a contestant
Well,
strangled or something yet.
there was on Bachelor in Paradise, there was a fisticuffs fight
Oh,
between
really?
two guys. Yeah, they were arguing over something stupid, and you saw like security rush in and separate them, and it was a whole thing. They both got kicked off the show.
Oh man, that's
But I think that's about as far as I've seen it go.
oh man. Yeah, that's really rough. And then of course, the losers had to carry their painted selves back to
Yep, walk of shame.
back to the house and explain what happened. I mean, I guess I would.
Yeah, they looked miserable.
Well, it was a pretty high effort thing.
Yes.
So I can understand that. That definitely
Yeah.
that definitely would be rough.
Yep. Anything in particular you noticed about the night portion, I guess, with the remaining girls?
That's a good question. So I guess I'm just still wrapping my head around the whole dynamics. And even like I was saying about the whole one-on-one date, because I thought that was just like, oh, we'll like block off an afternoon, but it was actually like basically a whole day, it seemed like.
Yeah, there's usually a daytime and a nighttime portion to all the dates.
Yeah. And I guess right, they do end up condensing things down from the perspective of filming actually lasts longer than the amount of weeks they're on air, right? Is that true?
It's the other way around because filming is probably
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. They
7.
stretch it out. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So they would actually film for like 6 or 7 weeks, and then they'd have it on air for 12-ish, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I still find the whole concept very foreign. Just how
Well, it is.
they're having the group date, and he brings this woman out to their private couch, and they talk a little bit, and they both have their hands locked together on her thigh or whatever, as they're talking about this or that. And then they're like, oh man, I really connected with you, and then they kiss, and then like repeat with the next person. Like, that's
Yes.
just very strange to me.
Yes. It's so I'm like so used to it at this point, but like when you're saying it like that, it really is so I guess maybe they don't think about it when you're in that environment. Like I'm making out with him and he just made out with somebody 15 minutes ago or less.
Yeah, yeah. I
It's
mean,
so strange.
I guess just if you're ready, if you're willing to be in that environment, like it just. And I mean, that's not to say necessarily that it doesn't bother people. I know, like, you see a lot of jealousy flaring, and like people being angry with other people, particularly in situations where they perceive a certain person is like taking up more of their fair share in terms of time. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, I guess it's a good thing, they all get like medically tested and tested for STDs and everything beforehand, because like there is a lot of kissing. Um, is there anything that really stood out to your more experienced eyes on that group date, in terms of just people he was really connecting with, or just things that are important?
um he's He liked Lauren. That was the first girl they showed. They talked about religion.
Yep.
But they both share that. The second, I did not write down the second girl's name, but she had said she had experienced infidelity, and he said he wouldn't put her through that. Which, like, of course, like, what else are you gonna say? um,
It's like, I promise to only cheat on you a little bit. Like, of course. Yeah.
he chatted with Victoria, of course. She called him a prize.
No, if our listeners can hear me rolling my eyes right now.
He doesn't seem to have any clue as to how crazy she is. So right now she's, at least at this point in the episode, keeping it under wraps.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious to see where his brain is at after that whole drama and talking to Marilyn twice after Victoria was just like, I hate to break it to you, but like, she's totally crazy. Because he obviously doesn't necessarily have. I mean, I guess on some level, who knows what the producers tell him?
Probably nothing. They want to keep that drama going as long as possible.
Yeah, or even if they want to like stoke it even more. Like I have no idea
Yeah,
what goes
that's
on there
possible.
behind the scenes. If they'd be like, yeah, like Marilyn's pretty like suspicious, because he seemed like he was kind of trying to make up his mind about what to do with all of that. So I am curious to see where he falls, given presumably we know additional or at least different information than he does.
Yeah. So he gave the group date rose to Lauren, and I did like the whole rigmarole of him coming in to take the rose away from
Oh,
all
they
the
were
other
so
girls, and they all
angry.
watch.
They were so
uh,
angry.
it's such an uncomfortable moment. Like if you're
Especially,
like if you're the lead, having to walk in and take that, and then walk away from everybody.
yeah, I mean, especially, yeah, Victoria was not happy about that because
No.
she had just talked to him, right?
Yeah, I think that was the last person they showed at least. Yeah, that probably started the rest of her spiral.
Yeah, I did like Lauren. They do
Yeah.
seem to have a pretty similar background in terms of like single parents and outlook that they have. Because who was she? Was she the one that got the second one on one?
No, that's Sarah.
Oh, Sarah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
There are so many people.
Yeah. We can move on to Sarah's date. Um, they rode in that biplane,
Yep.
which I was not a fan of. But
Oh, come on.
well, you know what was weird to me was that the pilot was behind them, so it's almost like they're in the driver's seat, but they have no control over where the plane is going. I feel like psychologically that would be weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just a thing with some biplanes. I don't know. I thought it was super romantic.
With the wind taking your face off.
I mean, there's like a little bit of like a windshield. So I mean, they were fine. I mean, I don't know how legal like putting two people in one biplane seat is necessarily, but because she was like sitting on his lap, wasn't she? Like that,
Oh,
like
I don't
it's not like
remember.
it didn't have two seats across. Like she was literally just sitting on his lap.
Oh, yeah, that does seem a bit of a safety violation. But,
Ugh, where's
anything
your
for
sense of
love and
adventure?
romance.
Exactly. how else are you supposed to get close to the Bachelor? I mean, you gotta be as physical as possible.
Yes. uh, the
Yeah.
nighttime portion, she opened up with "Family means everything to me," which is maybe the most overused line ever on this show.
Okay.
But um, the I liked her story that she told about her dad, um, how she quit her job to take care of him. That's just a really admirable thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's kind of hard not to be skeptical just because of the whole environment, but that is something that is pretty like, yeah, I don't think she's making this up.
Yeah.
And not even so much making it up, but like maybe even like exaggerating her role. It seemed to me like it was pretty earnest.
Yeah, it
And cuz
seemed genuine.
she's only 24, isn't she? I'm
I
pretty
didn't
sure
write down her age, but that
I'm
seems right.
I'm pretty sure I saw she was just 24. Um cuz I was thinking about that whole cuz she's like a broadcast journalist.
Yes. Yeah, I like her quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean caring for people with medical stuff is quite difficult, and I mean particularly ALS. ALS is not an easy disease either. They did seem to hit it off pretty well.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I did mark down two smooches for them because they were smooching when they were sitting down, and then they were smooching when they were standing up later. Um,
Yes.
what are your thoughts on the whole fireworks thing? Is that like where does that fit sort of in Bachelor lore and like meaning or non-meaning or like all of that stuff?
It usually happens every season at least once. Complete with the shot of the rest of the girls seeing fireworks and wondering what's going on. They get jealous. It's pretty standard, I'd
Okay.
say.
Yeah, because they were like, oh, I bet they're kissing right now. Oh. I mean, they were,
They were right.
but yeah, that must be so tough, Christy. Just spending most of the time, I'd imagine most people are on the sidelines.
Yes, you spend more time with the rest of the women than the actual bachelor.
Yeah, which yeah, that must be very very tough.
Yep. Well, next we have the rose ceremony slash cocktail party.
Okay.
I feel like most of what I have to say is about Victoria in this part.
Well,
Um,
hit me.
I First of all, her dress.
Tell me about her
I
dress.
think it was maybe the worst one I've ever seen on this show. It too too puffy in the shoulders. I didn't like the material. It looked like material from the 90s. Too much ruching. I don't know how to pronounce that, but you know that like gathering thing effect it had across like from top to bottom.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't like the length or the fit, and then in the back, as you pointed out, it was just like open, but she had the wrong bra.
Ugh, what a faux pas. Can't believe
It was
she
just
would wear the wrong
tragic.
bra. Yeah, I mean, it did sort of look like a curtain in terms of like
Yes.
material.
It was weird. Like it was like the sleeves were like too tight and too puffy at the same time. I Yeah, I didn't understand this decision.
It definitely did seem like it was from another era. I'm not sure which era, but just that's what sort of like the shoulder sort of ruffles like reminded me of.
Yeah.
Is that all? All you have to
Oh,
say about her dress?
maybe. Um,
I love how angry you are about
it
that.
was so bad.
Oh man, yeah, she was a handful for sure. What else about her annoyed you
um,
during that whole sequence?
her quote. Well, I guess she talked with Matt, and just completely like misconstrued the whole situation with Marilyn. Man, poor Marilyn was just going about her business, and and Victoria just had to like stir the pot, throw under the bus. Um, it was a rough night for Marilyn.
Yeah, because that's so. Okay, you're gonna have to remind me here. So when Victoria said all that stuff, that was actually during the rose ceremony chit chat, right? It was after her conversation with him at the group date. Just to make sure that I'm not melding things together in my mind.
Are you talking about when the feud first started, or?
So I'm talking about when Victoria started trying to throw Marilyn under the bus, because right, her first conversation with him in the group date was more normal, right, where she was
Yes,
like,
yeah.
oh, I'm opening myself up to you, like all this different stuff, and then they ended up having a one-on-one conversation during the rose ceremony, and that's when she tried to throw Marilyn under the bus.
Yes, this was after Matt and Marilyn's conversation. Which, oh, I meant to point this out. When Matt just happened to have that orchid ready for Marilyn, that's an insane amount of planning that goes into that, because she hadn't told him she was feeling left out, and yet they just happened to have this orchid in the corner ready to go.
I mean, that's
I thought
what you'd call a producer miracle.
I thought that was funny. But yeah, after that, I guess the two of them, after Matt talked to Victoria, then Victoria and Marilyn had their chat, which did not go well. I wrote down some quotes from Victoria. I'm not going outside, it's freezing, which I agreed with that one. I don't want to sit next to you. We're like oil and vinegar, and I need a break. You're too much for me. And I think she's fake as bleep. So,
Yeah, I got a big kick out of the whole oil and vinegar thing, just because
yes.
it's the classic phrase, right, is oil and water don't mix.
Yeah,
But
I don't know where she pulled that one from, but
yeah, it was just funny to me how, and I think this goes to show how much responsibility she takes. Like, she wouldn't take responsibility, but like how much responsibility she actually uh has for the whole situation, right? Because like obviously we don't necessarily know uh what happened between them, like in the whole like roommate situation, but the fact that Victoria was just like, there's no way I'm going to compromise at all. I'm not going to do anything, because right, none of these things were huge asks from Maryland's side of things. Like, oh, I'd like there are, I don't even know how many people got sent home the first night, but there are like 25 other, or well, with the two of them subtracted, like 20 to 23 other women like in that big room. It's not a huge leap to be like, yeah, like I'd like to sit on the same couch so that I don't have to yell at you to
yeah.
to make you hear what I'm having to say with everybody else's conversations happening around us. And just the fact that Victoria was just like, there's no way I'm gonna do anything like that admits anything or gives you any sort of ground. I think that's kind of telling in terms of how irritating she is, but also how she really is responsible for the crap between them versus Marilyn being responsible for it via her actions. I just the sort of aside that Victoria had where she was just like, Marilyn needs to go home because I hate her.
So mature.
And that just sort of summed up a lot of things for me with her
Yeah.
attitude and just how she views things, and just the entitlement that she has. I mean, I I don't want to keep pooping on her necessarily, but just like how I mean, she's just it seems like a very entitled person, and it just seems like her circumstances in life have not done anything to combat that at all. I mean, even with, you see a lady getting interviewed, or she's talking with Matt, and they flash up the names, so you can remember again, and it's the name, and then real estate person or photographer or whatever, and it's just her name, and then Queen, because like they it seems like they didn't have anything else to put, because that's just, she's just a socialite or whatever, and just
Yeah,
doesn't like
that's her
she
job.
yeah. And so that's kind of, I think it just gives a good look into her character, uh, and how she views things. I mean, she is there to take up space and spend, and obviously everybody wants to spend as much time with him as possible, but she's not above trying to tear other people down and get rid of other people very specifically to accomplish that, and so that just kind of irritates me.
Yes.
Because there's no way I would ever want to spend time with her.
No, I don't think you two would get along very well.
Probably not.
Yeah, I felt really, really bad for Marilyn. She just got blindsided by her.
Yeah,
She's
remember when he was like taking her off again, and she's like, "Am I in trouble?"
I know. Ugh.
Yeah, hopefully he makes the right decision there, and is able to kind of see through uh, Victoria's BS there. Because she just, I mean, and again, I'm sure it's quite different potentially for him, right? Just being in those circumstances, but she just seems very insincere to me as a person, and even their conversation during the group date, it just seemed so generic, and so like I don't know, just like something you could get from like a fortune teller or something, where it's just like it's so vague that it could apply to anybody. That's what it seemed like
Yeah.
to me, with how she was handling that conversation, how she was like, like, oh, everybody just like sees me as this way, but like really deep down inside I'm this way. And so, uh, hopefully he was able to see through that.
I don't know. I'm fairly certain she'll be back next week.
Yeah, I mean,
She's too good for TV to eliminate in this
yeah,
rose ceremony.
I'm sure the producers want to keep her around for as long as possible. It's just sad that decent people will probably get sent home
Yeah.
in order to keep her around. That's and so that's, I'm hopefully at least Marilyn doesn't get sent home because of it. Because like
Yeah, that would be that would
I
be
would hate to
tragic.
see that happen. I would be less sad if it was just some other random person that he hadn't really had a chance to connect with or anything. But like, I would feel very bad if she was sent home because of being sabotaged, because she does seem like a pretty decent person.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait till next week because they left us on a cliffhanger.
Can't
Is
even
Sarah
believe
going to be
they
okay?
look. I don't know. I don't know if she's gonna be okay. I'm not a doctor. I didn't. I mean, I wasn't even sure it was Sarah at first.
The only reason I knew is because she was holding a rose.
Yeah, I mean, you did get a better look at her like after he went over.
Yes.
Oh, this is a little bit of a throwback, but I did want to mention it. I was very glad that Matt finally talked to Abigail
Mm,
after like I mean, she literally like was non-existent in this
yeah.
episode, which was kind of strange to me.
That's actually normal for the first impression rose person to not get a date the next week. I feel like they don't want to make it too obvious for the audience, but it sucks for
Okay.
them because they don't get any interaction at all, basically.
Yeah, I mean that's what she was saying, and based on like what we saw, that was true as well. So yeah, so I was pretty glad because she does like, and again, I'm just getting my emotions manipulated by a television program, but like, I did like her a lot. She just seemed like an actual good person
Yes.
versus some of the other people you're just like like even if they're not as extreme as somebody as like Victoria or Kit, uh sometimes you still kind of get that a little bit of that vibe from people where it's just like, I don't know if you're here for the right reasons. So I also found it really funny the whole their whole ear thing.
Oh, yeah, I thought that was cute. I forgot to pay attention in the rose ceremony to see if she did it or not, but I liked that little inside joke.
Yeah, it must be so hard to just exist there for several days and have no interactions whatsoever and just be like, okay, will I ever see him again? I don't know. Oh,
Yeah,
awkward.
explains why these people start to go crazy after a while.
Yeah, I mean, I've they're probably a little crazy to begin with to to be on the show, and then just like totally physically isolated in a lot of regards because they're with the other ladies a lot of the time. But I have to imagine that it is probably pretty like psychologically isolating to be a contestant on The Bachelor, because you're
Yeah.
just like, you're trying to get enough airtime and enough time with The Bachelor. You're trying to like fend off these other people who also want the same thing. You're just probably a lot of second guessing with Marilyn, where she was like, "Oh, I thought you forgot about me," and, I like,
Yeah.
and how she was saying how she was like super nervous. I imagine that the whole process is like very, very just sucky.
Yeah, you also don't have your phone or TV, internet. Like, you're completely cut off from the
they
real
don't even
world.
give they don't even let them watch TV.
No. Supposedly, you can't read like magazines or books sometimes. Like, it is like
Why?
total isolation. I think it's so all your focus is on The Bachelor and
Okay.
falling in love with him.
That just seems like it would be a recipe for disaster. But I mean, I guess they've managed to last 25 seasons with The Bachelor specifically. So what do I know? But that would be so hard,
Yeah.
man. Are there any other things that we should be taking into account here for this episode?
Um, do you have the updated kiss count?
Yes. So, according to my count, and my count is not necessarily accurate or correct, but currently for this episode, I counted 11 kisses.
Okay.
I did not mark down who those kisses were with. Besides, obviously, there were two with Bree, two with what's her face,
Sarah.
Sarah. and so on and so forth. But yes, 11 for this episode by my count. 3 for the first episode. I may have missed one or two, so I may have to like go back and watch the first episode if we really want to be specific here in our count. I don't know if this is something that I would like to continue because I feel like I'm going to be shocked by the amount of kisses that go down, and I'm sure that there are many, many, many other kisses that happen that are not caught on camera potentially as well. Um, so yeah, I guess I'll try to keep the kiss counter as accurate as possible as we continue through this season for sure.
Yeah, I'm very interested to know how high. I never thought ever to tally this up, but I can't wait to see what it'll be on the final episode.
I mean, we could be well over 100 at this rate. I will continue to try to keep that as accurate as possible. It can be a little bit tough to catch them all sometimes because they do sometimes happen quickly. Though I feel like, despite my status as a newbie, I feel like I was calling them out pretty accurately last
Yeah.
night. I was just like, "Oh, this is a kiss-worthy story," and then boom, right after that, they kissed.
You're learning quickly.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
It's sucking you in.
Oh dear, that is unfortunate. I wanted to ask you though, is is this sort of cliffhanger that we experienced in this episode uh, something that happens fairly regularly?
Um, yes, depending on the season. They've a lot of times the cliffhanger is not during the rose ceremony like that. It's just like some big like argument that happened in the middle of the episode and they'll just say to be continued and you have to watch next week to figure out like what happened. But
Okay, but
they're
not
usually
normally with the rose ceremony itself.
no, it's usually like at a different point. But I find them annoying because I'm gonna watch next week regardless. You don't have to try and hook me. Like I'm gonna be back.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I because I would agree with you. I don't like if you're gonna watch The Bachelor. I feel like you're gonna watch The Bachelor. Like I don't know. I would assume that there isn't a very large subset of people who are like, oh, let me just like watch the first couple episodes and like see if I like it. It's like either you like, the drama reality TV vibe of The Bachelor or you don't. Like I feel
Yeah.
like there isn't a whole lot of room in between. So that's always that is kind of weird to me that they'd be like, oh my goodness, we gotta keep on wanting more. It's like your entire audience is already addicted to all of this drama.
Yeah, it's so dumb. Like you could have showed what happened to Sarah rather than leaving us waiting a whole week.
Yeah, but then their episode wouldn't have been exactly 2 hours long.
Yeah, and then like they show the little preview for next week, and you can probably, if you went back and watched, figure out who's actually got the rose. So, like, it just makes it even dumber.
Yeah, because I mean, how many roses had he even given out at that point? Like, so obviously the one-on-one date ones, right? So that was two, um, and then wasn't it only he only got through like two or three at the actual ceremony, right?
Actually, I wasn't paying attention to how many because I didn't know there was gonna be a cliffhanger, so I just assumed we were gonna see all of them.
Oh, you didn't
Yeah,
see that coming? Oh my goodness.
no, because they never do it in the middle of the rose ceremony. So I guess they're trying something new this year.
Hmm. Yeah, well, hopefully she's all right. I don't know. Do you have any theories about what happened to her? Why that happened?
I don't know. She said she couldn't see and she was seeing stars or something. So I don't know if she's dehydrated or too much alcohol, low blood sugar. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of those. I mean, particularly if I don't know, like, in terms of time, how actual, like, in real time, how long or how late or how much later that was. But potentially she was just hanging around for quite a while. I don't know, like, do they feed these people? Like, how does
Yes, there's food available throughout these long nights, but at this point we're probably well into the early hours of the morning.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I guess that makes sense if they, because I don't know how many hours like the cocktail party lasts or whatever, but probably a few. So yeah, I mean, she probably just was low blood sugar, something like that. She'll probably be fine.
yeah.
Otherwise, I guess you could just give her rose to somebody else if she dies. Oh man. Wow, this was very exciting. What a time to be alive. Bachelor season 25. Incredible.
Yeah. I was gonna say we have an email address now. So
Okay.
if you would like to give us feedback or have us read your thoughts on the show, our email is groupdatespod@gmail.com.
Ah, exciting. Yes. If there are any things you don't like, things you like, let us know. We may dedicate a short segment at the end of these episodes as things progress, as we pick up more listeners, to potentially reading your questions or your thoughts on what happened in the episode. So definitely give us an email, give us a shout there. And do you want to plug our Instagram as well?
Yes, it is Group Dates Podcast.
And I'm sure there will be lots of wonderful things up there as well. Our just great social media manager, Christy, is handling all of that because I hate
Yeah.
social media. So keep keep up to date with that. All of our episodes and everything will be linked through there as well. I hope you
Yes.
all have a great week, and we'll talk to you later.
See you next week.
This has been Group Dates and Hot Takes, a Bachelor Nation podcast. I'm Sampy.
I'm Christy, and we'll see you next week.